What's good, Cowboys Nation? Your boy is back, and I'm back with my brother from another mother, Foots, the King, Cowboys Nation TV. And you know, if you see Foots here, it's April. We talking draft, Cowboys Nation. What's good, brother?
Yo, Skies. I was telling you off camera, I've been texting you. It's good to see you back on camera. It's good to, whether
Feels
you're
good.
talking free agency, when you jump in your draft bag, I will always carve out time for Skywalker still. And this is going to be a fun one today for sure.
Man, I've been telling the viewers, whether it be on my show last week on Friday or just, via Twitter, that, man, when it comes to this draft stuff, you, Vach, Tuck is killing the game as well. And now we got our guy, Zach, from Double Move, who's doing some fantastic work. And I've been teasing it, but I told him on Friday, if y'all don't know, myself, Foots, and Zach will be working the draft show this year, and I'm excited for that. And these two gentlemen, Zach and Foots, are guys that I lean on for the draft this year, as well as, the big hitters, right? You got Vach, you got the 105 through the fan guys, you got Brian Broadus, but there's so many people putting in that work. And I've always told you this for years. You're a guy I dial into when I want to know about any of these prospects, especially early on. And today, we're going to focus on the cornerback position because Foots and Cowboys Nation and Bomb Squad. I had text Foots. I said, man, this cornerback position has been weighing heavy on me. Like, I know we all want to, and I'm included. I said this to you behind the scenes. We all want the weapons. We all want to help the offense out. But then as I'm looking at this roster, I got a little nervous, Foots. I'm like, especially with Trayvon Diggs, who may be outright serious knee injury, recovering from it. I don't think he's going to be able to start the season. And when you take a look at the cornerback room, even with Trayvon Diggs, in there, I get real worried. And it makes me think, should we be focusing on that position early in this draft because they didn't attack it in free agency?
I'll tell you this. I kind of teased it early on in the process. And again, our pre-show stuff, like the pre-show stuff I do with you, the pre-show stuff I do with Vach, where it's like we're just talking and we're not on camera. It's like we can really give, and I want to bring that to the camera. Like, Cowboys fans, do not get your feelings hurt when you're sitting there at 44 and it's a corner. You're sitting there at 12 and they have a corner rated higher than maybe even some of these running backs or receivers. If you get in a situation where you're wiped, because 100%, I love these weapons. I fall right in that category with you, Sky. I want a weapon. We're gonna draft weapons, but brothers, sisters, if you think you're going to start this season with, you're not starting the season with some of the guys. Like, just being honest, right? As much as we love our cornerback room, Diggs, we don't know if he'll ever be the same player again, right, Scott?
That's a scary part because it's a serious knee injury. It's not one of he just tore his ACL. Not that ACLs aren't serious, but if I'm not mistaken, this is like a bone graft or something like that. If I'm misspeaking here, Cowboys Nation, let me know. But that doesn't sound great.
It doesn't sound great, and then you got to think, when we saw Kalen Carson, brothers, sisters, I don't know. Like, I want Kalen Carson to be great.
I want him. I want him to be.
And nobody here is giving up on Kalen Carson, but you got to be realistic too. And then obviously with DaRon Bland, but like Scott, DaRon Bland stepped wrong in the preseason and in training camp. He was out for 6 weeks.
Well, I think more than that, bro. He missed a lot of action.
It was longer than that. You're right.
Let me tell you what sparked my thought process about this entire room. I was thinking about the nickel position, Foots, right? And I'm like, hey, man, we lost Jordan Lewis, and a leader in the locker room, had a hell of a year last year. I think he would have fit this scheme. I do. He's not the size that Eberflus likes, but I think he has that dog in him, and he's able to run fit well. And the thing about Eberflus and this defense, the nickel is really going to be like an extra run defender, physical type of guy. I feel like, and according, shouts out to, what's my man's name with Match Quarters? He did
Cody Alexander.
He did fantastic work. But it's like, okay. I feel like Flus is going to Want a guy in that nickel spot that's a little bit more of a physical guy, more of a run guy, but is solid enough in covering. So I'm like, all right, who could be that guy? They brought back Israel McQuamel, but it's a 1-year deal. He plays safety. I know he did the nickel thing with DQ, and last year he actually played more snaps in the slot, right, at nickel. But I'm like, they can't be that confident. I mean, he signed a 1-year vet minimum type of deal. So I can't be like, yo, just throw Izzy in there and everything is good. I'm not quite sure. Kalen Carson, to me, Foots, coming out last year, I talked to the fans about this. I thought he had a more of a long-term home in the slot, but they elected to put him on the outside. Obviously, the Deron Bland injury happened, and it didn't go well. And then you got Deron Bland, who would be the perfect nickel, in my opinion, in Eberflus's scheme. But then guess what? You're hurting on the boundary. And I know the chat right now is probably telling me, Sky, Kyer Elam. I believe it when I see it with Kyer Elam. I'm not going to just down the man right now, but I have to see it, Foots.
Yeah, and listen, I got to see it with, what you said about Israel McCormick. We've been saying that for how long? Man, let's give Israel McCormick a shot. And I think the Cowboys brass likes him, but Eberflus has to have a plan for him.
Yeah.
Again, how they deployed Kyler Gordon is kind of like who's going to do that in our system? Can Kalen Carson fit? Does he want to stick his nose in there? We think so. I got to see it. Like, Jay Lou was so good and such a luxury that now he's gone. It does make you wonder. It makes you think. And all of the things that Jay Lou did for this defense, it's going to be interesting to see how they replace him. And then we don't know when. I just can't say this enough. I know I said it. I sound like a broken record. We don't know when Trevon Diggs is going to play football. I don't. And that's a big piece. So,
yeah, I think you almost have to look at this. I say this a lot about certain positions or certain players that are, especially if they're injured or unproven. I think you have to say, hey, we have to operate like a Kalen Carson doesn't exist. He's a 5th-round pick last year. So we wanted him to be Deron Bland, but he didn't have a Deron Bland rookie year. So we kind of have to operate like, hey, he doesn't exist. So you can't not select a defensive back or a cornerback high because of him. You kind of got to do that with Diggs a little bit, right? Just a little bit, because he's not going to be available. If he is available, it's going to take him some time, because this is back-to-back years right now, 23, 24, of serious knee. Was it 23 or 22?
I think it was 22.
22. Okay, so he's had serious knee injuries in 2 times out of the last 3 seasons, right? So, yeah, I think it was 23. Yeah.
Okay, I might be
the
wrong.
Cardinals game, if I'm not mistaken, right before the Cardinals game, he got injured. So serious knee injuries, back-to-back years. I can't just say, hey, Diggs is going to be ready. He's going to be perfect Diggs for the first 8 weeks of the season, even if he's ready. So I got to look at it like, I have to and I don't want to say use a 1st-round pick as insurance, but you kind of have to look at it like, look, I got Deron Bland and possibles. I got a one in a possible, fam. And that ain't enough to slam it and grab them books. You know what I mean? So they definitely have to look at this position big time, because the room is full of question marks.
The room is full of question marks, Sky, and it would be malpractice not to, especially within your top 100 type picks, 44. Because if that's the case, then you're just bringing in another Kalen Carson type. Unless you have a guy, there's a few guys on my list that I think will be decent, but then they're going to have some of those same hangups, the speed, the play speed. That was, to me, Kalen Carson's issue was just play speed. The game was just too fast for him. I don't know if he's watching this. I don't know what fans think about it, but the truth is the game was too fast for Kalen. It's very obvious. And he got hurt too. And so that's something to talk about and think about.
Let me ask you this, because I've been trying to get an idea on the fit in the Eberflus defense. And sometimes it's not just Flus, right? It's the defensive back coach or the linebacker coach or the defensive line coach. Like, what type of guys do they like? And I have my thought process on there after doing a bunch of homework, and it feels like he's going to be targeting a lot of guys that can play that vision style defense, because I feel like that's his defense. It's a vision-based defense, not necessarily all zone, although he plays a ton of zone, a lot of cover 3, but we want to be facing the quarterback. You said something the other day where you were like, hey, it's not just zone, but it'll be off man. But
Off
that's
man.
also vision based, right?
Mhm.
Like I can play off, and if you're good enough, I can have that kind of peripheral vision of the quarterback as well as the man in front of me. Are you sensing that style coming from a Eberflus? And when you're looking at some of these prospects, are you trying to match that with this defensive of vision?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly who Eberflus wants to be. So, like, people don't understand Eberflus isn't. I think a lot of people have a misnomer that he plays all zone. No, Eberflus plays and he coaches to what he has. And I think that if he has guys who can run, like, because Jalen Johnson, for example, he can do it all. And but he's best in an off man. Like, he's not gonna get up in your face, i.e., and play that cat coverage like a Diggs would all game, right? Like
Jalen
that's
Ramsey
not
gets in your face a lot too. Yeah,
yeah, you're right. You get what I'm saying? So, but I think that he's gonna coach to what he has. But yes, I and there are a few guys on this list that's their best role. They're not burners per se, so you don't want them just playing press and just like there's only like honestly in this class, I got like three guys who can just line up and play press all game.
and you're
Everybody
not
else
getting that with this defense.
you're not getting that with this,
No,
and I don't think that you should. I don't think that like we've lived with cover one and cover three all game, Sky, and I didn't really realize it until we played a team coached by Matt LaFleur. How much being mixed on the back end we needed that because think about it. We played Green Bay. We tried that same game plan.
oh,
Defensive
he was
line get
so
upfield.
predictable in that game. DQ was.
Defensive line get upfield. Play cover one, play cover three, and Green Bay ripped us a new one
It did.
because we had no. And even when we tried to get to some mixed coverage looks, we looked so out of sorts. Nobody knew what they were doing. Eberflus is going to be closer to that Zimmer. I think that if you're asking me, bro, I think he's going to be a better defensive coordinator than Zimmer. I think he'll use some of Zimmer's stuff, but he also has more on his bag as far as the back end, especially if he has the guys to do so.
Interesting. I think Zim just didn't have his guys right.
That's fair.
Because Zim's history speaks for itself. Granted, Flus as a DC, his history speaks too. Now he gets turnovers. Zim flat out told you, I don't give a damn about turnovers. I rather you get the turnovers on your way to being disciplined to the ball. Flus, he's not. It's hard to say he's not turnover hungry because if you look at his history, he's top 10 almost every year he's been a defensive coordinator, if not every year, in turnovers. So his defense is going to get it, but I think he gets it because he plays that vision base. He's dropping back 7 guys, rushing 4, and if you don't put the ball in the right spot, there's going to be a guy in that window, specifically a defensive back that can get an interception. And now you got a guy like Micah Parsons who can create an extra, I got to get this ball out quicker, maybe a sack fumble, maybe some tip balls in the air. And now you have to be able to pair a player like Micah with help in the back end. And unfortunately, because I think Diggs and Bland are perfect guys for this vision-based defense, but without Diggs out there and Bland, hopefully he's, recovered from last year, it just brings a bunch of question marks. And that's why I think you can't just look at all just the physical part of the cornerback. When I say physical, I mean like the 4-3, the 4-2, the
Yeah.
press situation. I'm looking for foots.
Yeah.
Foots. I'm looking for fits in this defense. Straight like that.
Well, I'm a do you one better before we talk about the
Mm-hmm.
prospects. Who was the best player on like give me like the best player on the Bears roster, like on the defense side of the ball last year?
It wasn't Jalen Johnson?
I would say either Jalen Johnson or Montez Sweat, but like he's never had a player like Micah Parsons
Oh
is my
no, no,
point.
no, no. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean Mike is one of one, right? Like I said, it sucks because if Diggs was available, you could argue he hasn't had a collective of a Micah Diggs Bland type situation. You know what I mean? And hell, if
Yeah,
Demo was, then you could throw all them in there. So I feel good about Flus,
yeah,
getting the best out of certain guys and some of these defensive coaches, but the defensive back room needs help, and they need help that fits. And there's a guy that I was a bit taken away by some of the fanfare and just the thoughts about this guy. And I said this to you. I'm like, well, maybe it's because I'm not as super focused on these. Like I think there's draft fatigue, right? I don't have draft fatigue, in a sense, because I'm not watching a million hours of film on all these dudes on 300 prospects like a lot of y'all putting in some damn work. I
Yeah.
mean, chat fire emojis for guys like Foots and Foch and Broadus and Zach and like they all putting in some damn work. So when I hear Will Johnson, he ain't this. He can't. He's not a guy I'm taking that. I'm like, what? What happened? Like, I know he got hurt, Foots, in the back half. I know his 2024 season was not the greatest, but he does have 9 career picks. When I say the greatest, I mean it was up and down. 3 pick sixes, 6'2", 194. This is what Dane Brugler had to say about him. Johnson is comfortable in both press and off coverage with the fluid athleticism and route recognition to seamlessly transition or attack the football. I don't know if there's another defensive back that's more perfect for a vision-based defense. What am I missing?
So I've been waiting to unleash on this one. And this is Skywalker still unleashed.
Unleashed, bro.
And so I literally have no idea why people are down on Will Johnson. Like, so let's talk about what happened this year. Okay. First of all, Michigan stunk. Let's just start there. The team wasn't good. And so he was banged up, had the turf toe, and the film wasn't as good.
Right.
Still made plays, still ran well. And then you start getting people talking about his speed. I've never questioned Will Johnson's speed to the point where it was like, no, he's not a first round pick or he's not a guy that can't move. Is he a B+ mover speed wise? Probably so. He's not a A+ speed guy. His splits aren't there. But Sky, if you talk about this guy and you think about his freshman year where he was, pretty much, if you talk about press man, it was him and Quinyon Mitchell. They graded, I looked this up yesterday, they were the 2 highest graded players his freshman year in press man. So this is a guy, you talk about the versatility. That was Will Johnson as a freshman was graded just as high as Quinyon Mitchell, who we saw year 1 come in ready to go. He was a dog. This is Will Johnson we're talking about. Oh, and by the way, he's 6'2", so you're not gonna bully him. His arms, if you ever watch, just look at him. His arms are to his knees, just standing up. Great arm length. You can see that. And then we talk about 2023, which for me, if he would have came out last year, he would have been drafted higher than Travis Hunter. It wouldn't have been close. He would have been probably the first corner off the board. He probably would have been drafted higher than Quinyon Mitchell last year. If we're being completely honest, go watch the Alabama tape, go watch the Ohio State tape, go watch the Washington tape in the championship. Had Rome Odunze in a seatbelt. Mm-hmm. It was done.
Mm-hmm.
It couldn't separate. And then this year happened and draft fatigue, like you said, and I think you've coined the term draft fatigue. And it's like people are talking themselves out of a guy. And we'll talk about a few of these other guys, but I just don't understand it. I would take Will Johnson and sleep like a baby at night because I know that he hits a need. Some of this stuff that there's also this world of and this thought that he quit on a season. To be honest with you, he probably should have never played the season. if you want to talk about guys like Micah Parsons and a few others who just said, I'm done. Like I have nothing else to prove. Nobody gives them hell about it. He tried to play. The team wasn't good. He shut it down as he should have because of the injuries. But to act like this guy isn't a good player or to act like because of a 40 time or he didn't run one, we don't know if he's going to run one at his pro day, but I don't really care for his 40 time because I'm watching the film and the film is really good. And what people will argue, Sky, I know I'm long-winded here.
No, you're good.
People will argue there's a lot of off man but that's Michigan's defense. It's been that way since Jesse Minter was there. Even when Mike McDonald was like, that's what they do in Michigan. But those guys come in the league, especially on the back end, pro ready.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you look at Mikey Sanders still, you look at a few other players, those guys come in pro ready to compete. He's going to compete. You can't bully him. You would be hard pressed to find a guy who understands pattern matching more than
smart, man.
Will Johnson. Oh, bro, if he listens certain patterns and certain combinations, he's breaking on the ball. You want turnovers? You draft Will Johnson.
Yeah. He's extremely instinctive. And that's why when you said, people can bring up, playing off man, well, what you think is going to happen here? That's exactly, you're going to get that style of defense here. And if I'm playing in that, and I'm gonna say this a lot with these guys, I'm playing that vision based style defense. I want Will Johnson's my cornerback one in that case. I know Travis Hunter is Travis Hunter, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no realistic shot, but outside of Travis Hunter, I mean, this guy fits like a glove, and I ain't talking about OJ, right? I'm talking about legitimately fits, and you must have quit. So get me Will Johnson, bro, all day and tomorrow. I don't get why people be upset with this. I feel like, what we saw from Trayvon Diggs in 2011, maybe it doesn't happen the first year, but it ain't going to take long under Eberflus with this young man. I think he could easily get you 5 picks a season. No doubt about
Well,
it.
well, to be honest with you, he's a better prospect than Diggs. And I
Yeah,
think
that's
that
true.
like people, I'm flabbergasted because, and I get it. So this is why we have these conversations, Scott. This is why we go in depth for these reasons, because if the last time you saw Will Johnson play football, you may say, I don't know about that. But let's take the whole body of working. Man, listen, to be a freshman and to go against some of the guys he went against, those Ohio State receivers, he held strong. To do some of that stuff as a freshman, like all Big Ten honors, that's not easy. Like I was looking it up, and it's like he did something that hasn't been done since like the 1970s. And so let's like start. I mean, it's some crazy number. And so as a freshman and how he did on the edge, I would be perfectly fine with Will Johnson as the Cowboys pick at 12. Perfectly fine.
And there's another guy that, I've come around to. I mean, and by the way, I feel like a Will Johnson and this next player, high floor guys. But
Mhm.
there's also that potential. But I mean, you're talking about high floor guys. Jahdae Barron, a very versatile player, right? Can probably play every single last position at defensive back. I love how broad this comps him to my man from Alabama that went Branch, right?
Brian Branch.
Ryan Branch. He can play everywhere. And I was talking about earlier in the show, man, I'm a little worried about nickel, right? Like, what do we do here? Bland makes a lot of sense back in nickel because of what we're trying to do in this Eberflus defense. But boy, Jahdae Barron can do that too, right? Like he can slide in that nickel and he can be physical and he can run fit and he can recognize, and oh, guess what? If you want to drop him back and do some games, you talked about that with Flus, right? Does different things back there. He can play some games as well. You want to throw him on the boundary? Throw him on the boundary. Like he's a versatile player, and sometimes the saying "Jack of all trades, master of none" might get you in trouble. And I'm wondering, is that something maybe that's on your mind that maybe he's too versatile. Maybe I don't have one specific place to put him, and the Cowboys need to kind of find a guy that, hey, I need you to play this, and that's what you're going to play here in this scheme. Because think about Eagles defense, he doesn't have a guy that roams around there. These guys play one side, they play one position, and that's that. I think Barron is a fantastic prospect, but we'll get into your rankings. You don't necessarily have him right at the top.
I love Jahdae Barron, man. I think that, like you said, the interesting thing for him is I think his best position, Sky, is in the nickel. But
And I would love, but do you take a nickel that high?
but do you take a nickel at 12?
Yeah.
I mean, and again, it's corner, pick 12. I got to take it all into. I got to look at it all. And 5'11", the short arms is really. It's not the 5'11" that bothers me. He has short arms, and so and he actually lives in zone. Um, there's not nearly as many. If you actually watch his in 29-inch arms, I mean but if you actually watch his split, Sky, all of it, you go look at the PFF stats and whatever, all of it, he's in zone. Like that's what they did at Texas. He's 10 yards off the ball, but he does plant, takes that L step, breaks on the ball very, very well, can tackle. Just some things that I had written down, man. He is a really, really physical player. Like
Yes.
at every level. You go turn on the Georgia tape SEC championship game. He's playing with controlled violence. He's breaking on footballs. He had 5 interceptions this year, plus ball skills. So, like I said, in that nickel role, if you need him to come down and fit because he's played that, he can do that. He can cover tight ends. He can cover slots up the seams. He has all of that. Good feet, good base, all of it. It's just I'm looking at my division because I'm drafting from my division.
Okay.
Can he go out there day one and run around and hand fight with AJ Brown? at 5'11", it's tough, right? Can he go hand fight and have the quickness on the edge? And man, these are now man reps. Now you're not getting help to go do that with Malik Neighbors. I
Mm,
think Will Johnson can. I think some of these other corners can. I did not see enough press man on his film. Now, there's probably somebody in the comments, foot you're wrong, Jahdae Barron. Maybe, but you guys know me. I try to bring these arguments to the table so we can have these realistic conversations. That's
yeah,
not to say that Barron isn't good. And the one thing also, he's
I
a
think he's
fifth-year
fantastic.
singer. He's fantastic. He's an older player, fifth-year singer. He didn't hit till this year. He was kind of floating around the secondary, playing safety, playing nickel. He hit this year, and he really had a great year. But when you talk about body of work, I think there are some players on this tape, I mean, on my list that may have a little bit more juice there. But Barron would be a fantastic pick. I just don't know at 12 is that realistic for this team.
Especially if you're kind of just saying his best spot is nickel, right?
Yeah.
But see, for me, it might add a little bit more value in the sense that in a way that I think Will Johnson is a perfect fit on the boundary in this Flus defense. God dang it, Jahdae Barron is a perfect fit in the slot. Like,
Yeah.
is there a way I can get Will and Barron? Throw Barron in the slot, put Will on this. Like, I think he's the perfect fit in that specific position. But then it starts. Hey, the value, right? The positional value, and I know that's a big argument in the draft community. There's certain times where you say, man, screw that. Is the dude a dog? Is this dude a dude? I'm gonna give a damn what position he plays. If he's a dude, you take the dude. I think Barron could be a dude, man. I do. And the Cowboys, unfortunately, they've kind of pigeonholed themselves in that they need a nickel and they need a boundary guy. So, like, what do you know what I mean? Both of those positions are blinking red light needs, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, and it kind of sucks because, like you said, I mean, they tried to fake cover themselves by picking up what's our kid from from the
Kyle
Bills
Elam,
from Elam. But the
yeah.
problem with that is you know, it's so many mixed reviews on Elam. I kind of got to some of the film, but I just said I'm not gonna do this year and overrate a player that Bills fans are literally happy to get rid of.
If the
Um,
24 film is not good, bro.
yeah, I mean,
I mean, I'm not saying it's like the worst film I've seen in my life or anything like that. It's just very.
yeah,
How about this? Let me use this word. Very uninspiring. Very uninspiring. Now it starts off great, like you see the break on the ball. It was Denver or whatever. The early game where he almost had to pick six, and then you don't see that again. Like I didn't see it again for the rest of his
yeah,
targets on film, and it's like I'm not gonna do this with the kid. I want him to get into camp, get underneath Eberflus, his teachings or what have you, this defense, and let's see what he can do. But this is also a kid that has 1 year on his deal. Again, you can't operate in the draft with the thought process of you have Kyer Elam. No, he doesn't exist to me.
hmm
Elam doesn't exist. So don't go, you know what? We can wait to the 4th and 5th round to address, or we don't even have to address it at all. Boy, that might be a mistake, you know?
brother.
Yeah.
Well, you started it off, and now I gotta come catch the alley oop, bro. Corner's a premium position.
Money five.
You draft premium positions high.
Money five, bro.
It's one of those positions. So I'm with you. And then like what you just said about the him not being under contract. What about Diggs next year? I mean, is he in your long term plans? Is he in Matt Eberflus's? Let's say Eberflus has a good year. Let's say Eberflus has a career arc of what's our guy in Kansas City where he's like, I just like being a
Oh,
coordinator.
Spags. Oh, that'd be perfect.
I'm basically the head coach of the defense.
Yeah.
Shoddy doesn't give me hell. I could build my defense. Now I tell you who Jahdae Barron could be while we're talking about Kansas City. Now, what if he is
McDuffie.
what was you about to say?
Trent McDuffie.
If he's him and another player on here remind me so much of Trent, but they have to go out and do it. I don't want to put that on them.
See,
But
and that's a great thought because Trent McDuffie's an all-pro nickel. And I
yeah,
bet you if you redraft, you take Trent McDuffie higher, right?
and what Kansas City was doing, and again, Spags is probably the best defensive coordinator in football. So it's tough.
He's up there, yeah, 100%.
But what Spags was doing was he was playing them like on second down, he was putting them on the edge. Then on third down, he put him in a slot. Like he was doing all that stuff, and Trent could just handle all of it. You know what I
I was
mean?
about to say Spags gets freaky in the back end. Pause.
Yo. Hey.
Should I keep that in?
Keep it in there. That's one for the Unleashed squad, man. That's one of them ones, man.
Let's see how many people put the timestamp in. Yo, Sky, hey, yo.
Hey you.
Let's get to this third one, man, before we get to your two, we call it underrated. Let's use that term, underrated.
Yeah.
But this one here, Shavon Revel, out of is it East Carolina, I believe.
ECU.
I am torn on this player, man. I decided to sit down and watch him today. I got to him, and I'm like, yo, the physical traits, this motherfucker pops off the screen. I mean, he's extremely athletic. I mean, but he feels to me kind of like a ball of clay in the sense of fit, right? We're talking fit. I don't know that he technically fits this defense, if that makes sense. But if you want to get physical guy, you want a mean dog guy, a guy that's going to play in the corner or wide receiver's face. Excuse me. Give me this guy. This is what Dane Brugler has to say. Including his impressive body length and speed, Revel has traits. There you go, traits that NFL teams want at the cornerback position. I don't think this is high floor, but I do think this is really high ceiling. But this feels like this is a guy though that's a first round type of pick because of all those traits.
Yeah, so he would be the prototypical corner in that Dan Quinn, Gus Bradley Seahawks scheme.
Hmm.
Just we're playing three. We're gonna beat you up on the edge, and we're gonna do it all game. 4-4
Man, he'd be
speed.
perfect in the Legion of Boom.
Oh, perfect, dude. Because he also has great football IQ. I call him a faster Richard Sherman. You just got to see it versus top notch competition. That's number one. You got to
Right.
see how he recovers from the injury this year. That's number two.
That's something I did not bring up, Cowboys Nation. He did suffer the ACL injury in September. So, where do you go from there? Well, it's like, yes, he's a first round prospect via film, via, his athleticism and things like that. But do you take that risk in the round one because of the ACL injury?
Well, and then I'll take it a step further. The zone coverage skills just aren't there.
That's what
First of all,
see. That's what I mean. Like, I don't know if he fits because I don't know if that he right now that he can throw him in there and be like, yeah, he'll excel in zone.
well, the thing is, Scott, you watched this film. You probably didn't see many reps of him playing zone.
I watched Michigan tape a good bit, and he was physical though. Like he had a couple great plays in the run game, fitting. I mean, he brings that kind of dog mentality. But you're right, it was a lot of in your face or a lot of man, and that's what he excels in my opinion, is man.
Yeah, and I just Eberflus isn't just going to play all man all game. It's not going to be just playing one or cat coverage all game. He's not going to do that. And again, you know how I feel, Scott. I don't think you should because I think there are going to be teams that know how to take advantage of that, especially year one with him coming off of an injury. Now he is a 30 visit. Apparently, the Cowboys like him. We know how they feel about size speed athletes, right? Like if you look the part, you're going to get a call from Jerry. If you have the speed, you're probably going to get a call from Will, and he's a fast guy. Apparently, he's ahead of schedule with the rehab, but I just don't know if I want to take that cheese again. So I think that for me, I would be I think I would be hard. I would really look at a guy like this, but it would just be about the fit.
It's tough, man, because again, I think a lower floor, and that's not to knock him, but a really high ceiling, right? Like we use that P word a lot, potential. If this guy has a ton of it, and whatever he doesn't, I shouldn't use the word excel. Whatever he needs to work on now, because none of these prospects are perfect prospects coming out. I think he has that ability to get better at it and be a dog at doing it. So, like, while I don't think he's a great zone guy, not saying that he can't do it. I think that's something that he can work at and be good at. But right now, like the floor, I think is lower than Will Johnson and Jahdae Barron.
Yeah, and I mean, just let's be honest. I'm not drafting him over Will Johnson. I think there's people who would try to talk themselves into that. Even I'll do you one better, Sky. Even pre injury, like let's say he didn't get hurt. I'm still not taking him over Will Johnson because I just got to be honest with you. Will Johnson's body of work is better. Will Johnson has a body of work that is comparable to Patrick Surtain, if you ask me. And like when you look at him, you look at his technique, and I remember the Surtain J.C. Horn arguments where it was like J.C. Horn was this really good athlete.
Yep, that's crazy. Yeah,
right. But it was like, man, Surtain is just a steady Eddie.
So
plays really good
Surtain
technique.
Boring.
Yeah. Now he's the best corner in the NFL.
Exactly.
He literally shuts down the side of the field because I think what you would bet with Will Johnson is the arm length again. He's built like Shavon Revel and has better technique, if we're being honest. And so Revel does have that physical grit, and he'll come up and hit you now.
Yeah,
he'll hit you now, you know. But in comparison to the two players that we just talked about, I have them graded above Revel.
Yeah, same here. And again, I feel like in your list, if I'm not mistaken, let me see something quick. Yes, you got the tags touching with Revel and Barron anyway. So you do think highly of the kid, and same here. I think his ceiling is extremely high, but ACL injury, I think a little bit lower floor. I need these first 3, maybe 4 picks, Foots, the way the Cowboys move, to get in there, and be impact players right away. So Barron, Johnson, and Revel are probably the 3 most popular names in that first round, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you got a curveball.
Yeah.
You got a curveball of a guy. Your cornerback. I guess it would be 3 if you include Travis Hunter, but he could play receiver, corner, whatever. But talk about your guy, Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky.
So everybody buckle up. I do have Maxwell Hairston as a true outside corner, as a better player than Jahdae Barron. I do. And I've been waiting to make this take for a long time. I think that he has done nothing but ace the process, Sky. So let's talk the process. Senior Bowl, the process. Combine, the process. He aced it. Okay. Had an interception, had 4 pass breakups, 6 interceptions in his career, 10 pass breakups in his career. He plays. So that vision based, go cut on the film, Sky. I'm pretty sure if you haven't, he has some of that in there where you're playing zone, but he also has man reps. He's also physical. He is grabby. That's his one. That's my knock with Hairston.
Huh?
But I got to tell you, Sky, when you see it live, me and you were tweeting. I was tweeting with you. Well, not even tweeting, but texting with you, because me and you text a lot when I'm at the Senior Bowl. I'm like, bro, I got to tell you, man, Hairston, they can't run away from him. Besh, who was the MVP of the actual game, if you watch the one-on-one splits when he's in his face and they had him in a press alignment, couldn't get away from him. Like, he was in his hip pocket, and if it was a catch, it was contested. You look at with Higgins, he was beating Higgins up. Maxwell Hairston, and then to go out and run a 4.3, hello, like, we got to have now a high-level conversation about this guy.
4.28.
4.28, Sky. Like, I think his first run was 4.30, and then his second was like, so, but that's NFL fast at a stopwatch position, by the way.
Yeah.
And so when I look at Hairston, again, he's good in press, he's good in man. He had 2 years of really good production in 2023, 2024. Obviously, Kentucky isn't a headliner team in the SEC, but he's played SEC football. He's played against some of those teams. This isn't a Kelvin Joseph type player. The coaches loved him at Kentucky. He's 6'1". He's probably more 6 foot even, but he plays bigger than what he is.
He measured just under. And I wonder, and this is where, okay, you got the draft analyst who's looking at this thing as a whole, right? And you look at these players, you're not thinking about the team, but then you think about the actual team. I wonder if we will start to see the Cowboys revert back to the size, right? They have a size preference. And remember, Eberflus was here under who? Rob Marinelli. And I want to say, just Rob Marinelli, when they kind of had preferences of that position. So I wonder if maybe him not ticking in at 6'1", 6'2" would be harmful. But hey, if he's 5'11", so is Jahdae Barron. But if you put Barron in the slot, then that 5'11" is cool. If you put him on the boundary, it's like I need you to be Revis, right? Like Revis is five.
Yeah.
Ain't too many 5'10" dudes locking it down in the league nowadays. But that's kind of what you're hoping for.
Well, and I think too, just from a film perspective, I saw him play more man than Barron. Like there's really no man reps on Barron's film. Like it's few and far in between. And Hairston did it. And so that's where I fight fans who say, nah, Jahdae Barron's a 100% better player. I don't know, man. Like this is how I feel about, and we'll talk receivers when we get there, Sky.
Yeah.
But like this is how I feel about Matthew Golden and Kyle Williams. Two are like similar players. And you would look at a Kyle Williams size and you would say, oh, he just wins in the slot. And Matthew, but it's like, no, if you actually watch the film, he wins on the edge. If you actually watch Hairston's film, go watch the film. He can play man, he can play off man, eyes on the quarterback, and he's still not lost. I don't know, man. Like for me, I just have a good feel about his game. Again, he is grabby, and he's grabby late in the stem. So he's gonna that's the one he especially in the league they'll flag you there, but I will say this, guy, for as grabby as he is, you never see guys running away from him. You never see him double move. Like there's a guy we probably won't talk about him in depth, but Darian Porter, super fast, super physical, super big. State. But the problem with him, double moves, like he just doesn't, and that's why I just don't understand the knock on Will Johnson. You never see Will Johnson getting double moved. You never see him getting left off the screen. With Darian, it's kind of like, yeah, he has the size and he's really fast, but does he know how to play corner? And I think Hairston knows how to play corner.
Talk to me about Benjamin Morrison out of Notre Dame. When you kind of threw me this name here again, like I said, I haven't looked at all these prospects, but he's a guy you have in your top 10, and I'm like, okay, I got some homework to do on this cat, because when you bring up guys that you believe aren't getting enough love, that makes me my ears perk up here and pay attention a little bit more. What you got on Ben Morrison?
Man, the thing with Ben Morrison is he is so freaking good. It's the injuries, guy. And like a hip injury at the cornerback position scares the living crap out of me. But if you go back to, so I'll give you a game. I give everybody a game to go watch. Go watch him versus Caleb Williams last year. And go watch first of all, Maris Luafau was all over that film. But if you watch him and how he's really just in, like it was an end breaker. He was able to break on the ball down in the goal line. They really just locked Caleb Williams all game, and he was on the other side of those plays being made. He's a great blitzer, Sky. So he really does have a lot of that Devin Witherspoon in his bag. Super physical. If anybody's watching, they want to go watch him versus Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. really couldn't separate versus him. Like Will Johnson and Morrison did the best on Marvin Harrison Jr. last year. And so with Morrison, the only issue is that hip. Like if you could tell me that hip is going to be healthy, I'm cool. But if you can't, I don't know, because that's a position where I just don't want those question marks. But I say this, his camp is saying that he's healthy. His camp is saying that he's going to be ready to go. He's your second round guy, Sky.
Okay.
Him and Revel.
I was just about to ask you that.
Yeah, no, he's your second round guy.
What about fit? I've been talking about that a lot, and I said I'd talk about it a lot here, right? Like how does he fit with this specific scheme? Is this a zone-oriented cornerback here? Is this a guy that's going to be more physical at the snap, or a guy that's better, late in the route, right? Like, does he have good ball skills? Can he track the ball? Or is this a guy that struggles with that? Because I don't have anything. That's why I'm asking you about him. Where does he, or how does he fit in the Flus defense?
So they call him human seatbelt, bro. He's in your face.
Oh man, I don't know if I want another seat. We already got a seat.
Yeah, I know.
We don't need nobody else calling themselves seatbelts.
That's his nickname, bro. That's his nickname, and after the joint, they do the whole.
Yeah, get rid of that. Hey, Morrison, get rid of it.
But I'll tell you this: you see a lot of press man, and on go balls, he's running the routes for these receivers. Scott Steele.
Okay,
like he has that. He will reroute a receiver. He will beat a receiver up. He has that in his bag, and he's fast enough pre-injury, right, to run and stay in phase. So the thing is, I trust Notre Dame players. Number one, Marcus Freeman does a great job coaching those guys up. And those guys, like even with Louisville, he came in even where he lacked, he was more prepared than some of the guys that, let's be honest, he was probably more prepared than the Jamal Clark, right? Just because Notre Dame, like if you go to Notre Dame, you're probably a smart athlete and he's already a good athlete. So I think that he actually would be able to live on the edge in Matt Eberflus's defense. But again, when you watch this film, Sky, you'll see it. It is a lot of press man reps. It's a lot of press man.
All right, I'm gonna check them out, man. I'm gonna check them out. So there you have it, Cowboys Nation. We gave you 5 cornerback prospects you need to keep your eye on. Obviously, you got the big 3, right? And Revel and Barron and Will Johnson. And again, I'm still kind of floored that if the Will Johnson takes here. So I'm gonna be interested to see what the fans got to say in the comments about him. But keep your eyes on Hairston and Morrison as well. And Foots did drop his top, who was it, 20?
Yeah.
Top 20. You dropped your top 20 cornerbacks in the draft over on Twitter.
15. I'm gonna drop them tomorrow, Sky.
Okay.
Well, when this airs, I'll wait for this to air. I send them to you, so you got them first.
All right, bet. Appreciate you. So he'll have all that for you. And again, we'll be covering the draft, so we'll likely have Foots' top 20 during the draft show, so you guys can follow along with that as well. Let them know, man, where to find your work if they don't, if they're new here on the Skywalker Unleashed channel.
Man, at Foots the King everywhere. You guys have been with me, and like I said, Sky's a staple in the community. And so man, to be able to do this with him and Zach this year is going to be fun. Like I was talking with Vach, quiet as kept. He kind of sad he not going to be with us because he know he could be himself over here.
Yeah.
We can really cut up, but I think he's going to do something with us at some point throughout the weekend, Sky. And I know this. One thing for sure, 2 things for certain. If you go back and watch our takes from last year, you guys were prepared for what we were.
Oh yeah,
the prep was there and the work was done.
I mean, I'm not trying to toot our own horn, man, but you can legitimately tune into the show if you can't watch the big networks or you don't want to watch the big networks. I feel like you are getting just as good as coverage. Now, obviously, we aren't former professional players, but y'all put in that work. In my opinion, I try to hold up that bar in regards to the presentation and make sure we keep people locked. So I'm really excited for this, man.
Yeah, this is, like I said, the process, Sky, for me, and that's how I can give these takes. This isn't me pulling a rabbit out my tail.
You've been hitting me up, I think, before the season started. You sent me like your preseason top 10 this. I'm like, no,
like, yo, Foots is crazy.
It's August, bro. We got we just signed Dak and a couple of them. But nah, I'm like, okay, this is gonna be one of them ones because he did tell me. Remember, you told me right after the draft last year. You said, yo, next year, bro, I'm starting early. I'm going in. He wasn't lying. He wasn't lying. Man. He wasn't lying.
Yeah, and I appreciate you having this conversation, brother, because I think it's a one that we need to have with the community, and I think it's one that just I don't want fans to be throwing tomatoes at the screen if it's Will Johnson, or let's just try to make it make sense. I think our fan base does best when we.
That's how I feel about the draft. Doesn't make sense.
Let's have these high level conversations, man. Like I want Ted. Sky wants Ted. We've tweeted about it, but if we don't get Teddy, you get Will Johnson. There's a reason why. If you don't get a running back, you get a corner, whoever, in the second round. There's a reason why. So I appreciated this conversation a lot, Sky.
Yeah, I said this on Friday. First of all, I don't put my emotions into a specific player or two anymore. It's been a while since I've done that, so it's a little easier for me to digest the pick. However, we all have preferences. We all have who we want. It's a human emotion to be upset or disappointed if it happens. But I try to push through that and say, okay, does the pick make sense? Right? Mm-hmm. Even with the Guyton last year, right? If we're talking about what happened during the draft show. We all didn't necessarily, when I say I don't know about, I can't remember if you, but me and Vach didn't necessarily want Guyton, but I understood the pick because of the position. We wanted the other tackles. We didn't get a chance to get the tackle, right? So I'm like, I get it. It's a 2025 and beyond pick. It's a ceiling pick. It's a project pick. I understand it because of the position that we needed, and that's just one specific player. There's other. Go back a few years ago, and Tyler Smith, like
Yeah.
Tyler Smith wasn't the guy I was clamoring for at that position, but I understood it, and I understood that there's something there as well. I said, I get it. Does this make sense? Yeah, it makes sense. We need to we need to upgrade our interior offensive line, and at that time we had some question marks. So if it's not the guy you want, then ask yourself, does the pick make sense? If you say no, then you can get pissed off and break the TV. Just don't break mine. That's what I'm
And
saying.
Shoddy has told us, and he's talked about ends outside in. So he's talked about isolation positions,
Mm-hmm.
corner, end, sky. I'm pretty sure you'll do a show on these ends. Is there a world where they get an end? Don't tell the fan base Michael Williams or Pierce or somebody. They don't want to hear that. So it's gonna be interesting.
Because of how the Cowboys maneuvered this offseason. And you can say, well, Scott, they signed 10 free agents or 10, they acquired 10 different players or whatever. It's not about the number. It's not about the quantity. It's about the quality. They didn't add enough quality to eliminate not a single position of need in the draft. Do you hear me? Not one. And I will argue you down to the bone about that. So whether you're at 12 or 44 or whatever,
76,
all those positions of need should be talked about when that pick gets there. Not, you know what, we don't need this because we signed Elam, or we don't need that because we signed Miles Sanders, or we don't need this because Robert Jones is here. And no, sir, you need all that and some.
Yeah, 100%, Scott.
Oh,
100%.
I can keep. I'm fired up now. I'm ready to keep rolling. But you know what? We're gonna slow roll it. We got a couple more weeks. We got the draft show coming up soon, but we'll keep rolling these out, Foots. I like this. Let's meet again. I told you behind the scenes I'll probably get Zach on here. We'll talk about a specific position. Then we'll all get together, introduce the squad to the trio for draft day. How that sound?
That sounds good, bro. That sounds good. Let me know.
All right. We out of here. Peace.
Much love, y'all.